Hello and welcome to the 100-day art challenge. This video is number 99 of 100. 2 to go. This is one of the two, and then tomorrow is the last video. This is what I'm going to be doing today. It's a little bit different. I'm going to take several soft pastel portraits that I've done that I really don't like, and I'm going to try to make them put them all together into one piece and see if it ends up with something that I do like. And if you've seen the thumbnail of the video, you've probably seen what the result is, because I quite like how it works out. But here we go. This is how I do what I do with this, because these pieces, I could probably continue with them and try to salvage them, but they just weren't as interesting to me anymore as they were initially when I first tried them out. So I thought, why not just utilize them? They've been hanging around being pinned to boards at the back of my room for a long time, so I need to just either use them or dispose of them, or roll them up and store them, which is a lot of things has been, but these kind of bothered me because they always felt unfinished. Immediately when I cut out this little head, I much preferred it to the rest of the piece. I think the face and the head I didn't mind too much, so that head already has a lot more potential than the piece did, in my opinion anyway. The way that I view it, I think it's a lot more interesting than the other shapes that I was trying to work out. Just that face there on the table I think is quite interesting, quite nice. And then it's time to do the same thing with those other two pieces, and there is a fourth piece that you haven't seen yet, which is going to be the surface that everything else is going to be put onto. So this is the second of the four pieces that I'm going to try and make into this collage. And I thought, I don't really do collage art very often. I did a little bit for university. I did some digital collage. I did some drawings that I cut out and put together as a collage for uni, and it kind of went well. I did a bit of photo collage for a project that I did with my German friend Petra. That I did do in Photoshop, and I quite like that process, but I don't often do this where it's some kind of pastel painting that I just don't think works on its own. And I'm quite glad that I made this decision. This, unlike yesterday's submission, is one which I actually do really quite like and might try and do more of, because unsuccessful soft pastel pieces a lot of the time will get disposed of, and I'm glad that I kept these pieces because they don't look like the people who I was trying to capture in soft pastels. It's not anything that I could show to anyone. I wouldn't want to keep it really and develop it into a finish and then frame it. Soft pastels for me either work or they don't. Here's obviously the third of four, and after I've done the same thing with this chap, because I think the same idea for all four of them interests me, as far as just cutting out the head and then just putting the heads together. I had a very loose idea of what I wanted to do before I did this. I just didn't know what it would look like at the end and how to arrange them. And as soon as I did, I thought this is what I think could be the best case scenario. I mean, I played with the idea of doing more work to the pieces once they were all stuck together, but once I saw them stuck together, I thought, do I really want to start, distorting what I've got? I quite like it as a collage piece, and this is an art challenge. It's not a drawing challenge or a painting challenge, it's an art challenge. So I think that collage is legitimate art. I think that the collage is made of my art, so I don't see the issue. So there's the three faces that are cut out. They're going to be stuck onto a surface, and this is going to be the piece that they are stuck onto, and you will see now why it is the piece that they're going to be stuck onto, because there are a couple of reasons why I think it works best. So here we go. This is a piece that I tried to do recently, and because it has a black surface and because there are black that I shaded around a couple of the characters, I think that makes it a good contender for being the background for this to be a collage. And I think the way that they sit together like that are quite interesting, because the eye is poking out and the way that the heads are arranged, I just thought, you know what, I quite like that. That is quite an interesting image to me. So immediately I just got the glue and thought, right, let's just do it. Let's not think too hard. Let's just get some glue on the back of this here and see if I can get them stuck down. And it's an interesting process for me. You know, one of my friends who actually told me that I should do this challenge with her, she did photographs and prints for her challenge. And I remember thinking, should I really be doing all of this drawing and painting? Should I not just do something simpler for the challenge? And I really did take things the hard way, and this felt like the easiest piece, and yet it was probably the most rewarding, because the way that everything sits together in this collage, I think, is really nice. And not only is it nice, but it's all my work as well. So I think I'd feel a bit guilty if I just did some random artwork or cuttings from a magazine or from a newspaper. I would feel like I was cheating. But because it's all my artwork anyway, I don't think it's such a bad thing that I'm doing it this way. That I'm actually doing a collage of my own work that you otherwise wouldn't have seen. So there we are. That is the arrangement that they sit in. And the only issue that I had was certain edges that I hadn't glued down very well, and just pushing them over a little bit to make them work well. And then I thought, you know, there is the potential with soft pastels to push around the pigment still. I thought it was a little bit too long at the bottom, so I cut a strange bad angle there, a diagonal angle of the bottom. But still, I wanted to clear off some of that space at the bottom of the frame. And then this is where I start to think, wait a minute, some of these edges of the faces aren't glued down properly, and I'd like to get them glued down so that everything sits on the surface fairly well. But here we are. Yeah, actually, no, the first thing I do then, apparently not, because the first thing that I do is to start to push around some of the pigment and blend some of it together, which I think works quite nice, because you can just go from one surface to the other and they blend together a little bit. Not perfectly, and I didn't want to do it perfectly because I don't want them to look like they're one piece. I quite like that it looks like cut out pieces on top of each other. That's part of what I like about some collage stuff, is having rough edges. It was a decision that I made when I made collages with Photoshop. I made sure that it didn't look seamless. I wanted it to look like cut out pieces, because I think that's aesthetically quite interesting, almost like the old-fashioned zines, which I still think some zines get made, but when I was younger there are a lot more zines around than I see these days. But it was similar to that, how it was rough, but it was just interesting and punk and arty, and I thought, I don't mind it having loose edges to these things, and to kind of push around a couple of the elements, but otherwise to try and keep it loose and abstract and odd. I think part of my influence is watching body horror films as well recently. So having heads coming out of other heads interested me, because I watched a film, The Substance, recently, which obviously is similar to David Cronenberg and David Lynch and Stanley Kubrick and things like that. So I quite like the David Cronenberg body horror stuff. I mean, I love Stanley Kubrick and David Lynch as well, but it's the body horror is obviously more Cronenberg than anything, and that's what The Substance reminded me of. So with this piece, I thought it's an opportunity to have a kind of monster like there was at the end of that film, where heads are kind of poking out of different places, and I thought it'd be quite interesting to have that influence in a piece of collage art. And as simple as this may seem compared to the other videos where you've seen me drawing and painting, I think this one really gave me quite a lot in return, because as I said, this was otherwise lost art that I don't think was offering me anything, and to have this now revitalized in a sense with the layers to it, I think was really interesting. And once again, this is something which looks a little bit different on this camera. I think it's the lighting on the camera, because the camera's sat inside of a ring light, and then I have a monitor with a white screen so that that's a light shining down the other way. It's just to eliminate any shadows that are cast across the surface of the work. That's why I do it. But anyway, that's something which when I photograph it afterwards, it has quite a nice look to it, and it's also been sprayed with fixative. So this is the piece which I made. This is number 99 of 100. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.